I vehemently hate working. That's a sentiment I'm sure you agree with. I know, I'm such a woke, open-minded sensationalist. Really speaking for the people, like a Mahatma Gandhi of the modern man. All around the internet, you hear of people despising their jobs. News outlets talking about how kids these days don't want to work. And all around, it seems like the public opinion of labor and corporations, at least with the younger generations, like moi. Alright, an all-time ugh. And I agree. Work sucks, companies don't care about you, and it's a bad world we live in, where I have to come to the realization that I very genuinely may not get to retire, and absolutely will never own a home.
90%?
Holy... This started out as like a joke, but then I found the graph, and I looked into it. 90% increase from 12 years? And that's not even this year, it's still going up. Oh my god, I'm gonna be renting forever. Now with that fresh in all of our beautifully folded thought holes, my name is Vic. You might know me as... what? Got to me a few days ago, sitting in a room on a weekend on my computer, rotting away like the creature I am. But today, I'm indulging in a new obsession of mine. I am on the computer, doing a business. Managing sales, verifying my profits are at a reasonable level, and ensuring my beautiful consumers are being fed the slop they so rightfully deserve. I'm doing this for hours, having the time of my life oblivious to how long I've been at it, when a single question pops into my mind. Why? I mean, seriously, why am I doing this? And I mean, more puzzlingly, why am I enjoying it? I mean, I'm running a business. I hate working, so why am I spending hours of my weekend, my rotting time, doing a job? Am I truly succumbing to being a wage cuck? Ever excited to clock in and turn myself over to our billionaire overlords? Working myself to the bone, not because I have any passion for the job, but because I worry about how the poor shareholders would suffer if I had it all affected their bottom line? No. I am experiencing a simulator. Now, I've long enjoyed simulators. Ever since I was a kid and my small, high-functioning brain first encountered the shitty flight sim that came with Google Earth, I was hooked. Flight sims turned to farm sims, turned to truck sims. I mean, I have vivid memories of me filling my shitty little laptop with viruses, trying to search train simulator free online download free. And I don't even know what I wanted to do with that one. But it had trains and it was a simulator, so it means that I got to control the trains, move them down the tracks, put them wherever I wanted. All different kinds of locomotives, probably derail them. And oh my god, when I first... looking back, flight sim, being able to fly it is not a shock that I was diagnosed so early. In small little private jets. The Cessnas I wasn't too big on, because they were small and hard to control. But the big ones? My point is, I've always been fixated on these things, but I've never been able to squeeze those thoughts into words. And so today, I'm going to try and attempt just that. And hopefully I'm going to try and help you. Yes, you! Understand why these games are so popular in a world where real work is not. And if you already enjoy them, then maybe hearing little old me rant about it will help you validate your love for them. Or even help you put them into words yourself, you little cutie pie you. Mwah! Starting off with, what is a simulator? Well, it's a game where the main gameplay is intended to reflect some real-world task. Usually these games don't have strict objectives like most games. There's no defeat the bad guy or beating the enemy team. Instead, they opt to have more open-ended goals, typically giving you all the tools necessary for a task, but they'll leave you, the player, open to using them how you see fit. It's one of the first reasons these games are way better at retaining my ADHD-riddled attention than a 9-to-5 stock at shelves. Personal choice. By that I mean, these games relish in giving players the choice to do what they want. They're rarely going to provide you strict paths forward, and instead they'll leave that up to your beautiful ape brain to figure out. TCG Simulator is a game I've recently picked up and poured hours into. I mean, the premise is simple enough. You run a card shop. It's your responsibility to stock the shelves, change the prices, wash the filth-ridden flea-bait vermin you host, and I love every second of it. I choose the products I sell, I select what events to host, I decide whether or not you bathe. I don't know why this one is my job. Maybe if you're going to a fucking card shop, you clean yourself so you don't stink up my entire fucking business! It's all about that choice. I've worked in retail my fair share. I've done my time. And I'd rather chew the tip of a 12 gauge than do that for the rest of my life. I don't choose what items get stocked, I don't choose where displays are shown, I don't pick anything. It's draining. But when I'm given the choice to do it, then it turns from a chore to a rewarding pursuit of perfection. And that pursuit is encouraged even more because you aren't bogged down with all the actual downsides of owning a business. I don't have to worry about making enough money to feed myself, the difficulties of getting the rights to sell a product are turned into a single button on my phone, and the worst customer interaction I have is some gentleman telling me that we were out of the plushies he wanted. And so, while you do still need to deal with some ungrateful piece of shit bastards, everything else is streamlined into a simple and easy to understand system. And when you aren't made to constantly dwell on smaller things, your brain is freed to make its own path forward, which leads me to my second point. Progress is determined by you, the player. I'd like to provide you with a quote from a Seattle exile from Reddit. In a simulation game, information is usually categorized and simplified in such a way that progression is made clear. This quote sums up my point perfectly. Let's start a new day of TCG Simulator and see how long it takes to feel like we've really achieved something. I start my day, pay my bills, restock my shelves, and spend pretty much every dime I own before opening the shop up, like a true business mogul. I then spend about 15 minutes processing transactions and from the constant flow of customers, watching them plop products onto the till, scanning each one, and in real time seeing every dollar go right back into my pocket. By the end of the day, I have more money than I started with, and the joy of getting to start all over again the next day. Now my brain starts to think of products I could buy, furnishings I can get, and optimizations that can be made, all within just 15 minutes, and I get to do it again in a cycle that stops when I want it to. Now let's take an average retail job and think of the same. You get hired, thrown behind a register, work a full 8 hours with 1, maybe 2 breaks, get yelled at by several people who don't understand the concept of basic human empathy, and go home. Repeat this for a minimum of 2 weeks usually before getting paid, and bam, finally a check that barely covers the cost of living? What the fuck? It's no wonder these games are so popular. Reality fucking sucks. The gameplay loop is terrible. The only minigame is standing at a register with the option to sit because fucking, I don't know, the society has decided that somebody sitting at a register is the third sign of the apocalypse? This? It's just fun. And it's hard to put into words exactly why it's fun, but I think the best way to summarize it is the gameplay is simply therapeutic. Scanning items, dispensing change, stocking shelves, organizing a store, the gameplay of it all is simplified just enough to provide the sensation of doing a job, but without any of the stress, where the only goal is that perfection I mentioned earlier. I'm not trying to find the barcode on an item, I just scan over them and they neatly pile into the bag. I'm not fumbling with coins, I select exactly the ones I need and slam that spacebar so that the wonderful patron in front of me can fuck out of my store and make room for the next. And this can be expanded to other games of the genre. Farming Simulator has you lining up combines to neatly collect all the crops you've grown. Truck Sims have you carefully backing yourself into a parking area. And if you've ever gotten bored in GTA and just decided to try and drive normally, you understand what I'm saying at a fundamental level. Doing normal and regular things in the prospect of a video game is inherently fun. Hey, psst, come here. There's one more reason that I adore these games that I think often goes overlooked by people who don't understand why people would play a game that in essence is just a regular job. Simulators like these are a fantasy. But Mr. Vic? Oh, what is it, small faceless child? I thought simulators and fantasy were two different genres. Don't you dare ever interrupt me in video ever again! Sorry, I'm going. Oh my god, he startled the crap out of me. As I was saying, simulators like these are a fantasy. Some people have always wanted to be pilots but don't have the time, money, or might have medical conditions that make it impossible for them to ever be one. But these games give them a window into what could have been. I truly never would want a job where I'm on the road the majority of my life, but with Euro Truck Simulator, I don't have to ever do that. I can have all the fun of big truck on the highway, without ever needing to understand how Big Truck works. You only get one life, and in it you can only do so many things, meaning the vast majority of things you may have been really interested in will never be possible for you, and that sucks. But through experiences like these, simulators as a genre, we get to escape into a life we will never have, and I think that's something that some people just need. I mean, while simulators are just a side hobby of mine, there are people out there who dedicate their free time entirely to these things. Actually learning how to fly a Boeing 737, understanding what every switch does in a big rig, optimizing the perfect growth cycle of crops and which tools are best suited to harvest them. What's insane to me is that these people might have never been formally trained on any of these things. They taught themselves purely due to the passion they hold for their respective interests. And I find that beautiful, inspiring even. I'm obviously not trying to say real life should be more like these games. That's just not realistic. The most realistic part of TCG Sim is the odor of the patrons. But what I do believe is that it shows how people are genuinely passionate about things that might seem boring. People aren't wanting to work less. Work has just become hostile to the average person. And through simulators, we get to see a side of ourselves that's often stifled by the reality around us. I truly don't believe anyone is lazy or unwilling to work. I think that the human mind is built in a way that requires it to work. The issue is that we live in a world where what our specific brain wants to do is often opposed to what we are able to do. If you work a 9 to 5 and are just tired of it, maybe you feel like you need some kind of creative outlet just to work your brain, then simulators are legitimately one of the best places to start. You don't need to know much about gaming as a whole, and the bar to entry on some of them are extremely low, because you might already be familiar with a lot of the concepts if it's something you've shown interest in before. These games are genuinely games for everyone, in the most definitive way. If you don't believe me, then just spend a few minutes scrolling Steam's sim page. I guarantee you'll find at least one that catches your eye. And you know what? If you do, let me know. I'll be here, running my little shop on an unnamed street. Feel free to stop by. But, please shower beforehand.